to introduce the next presenters.
So without further ado, please.
I don't think I need to say any more really,
No.
but can we give a big African hand for Lady Adele and Papa G, Andrew Mohammed.
How's everyone feeling? Good, bro. Please, brothers and sisters, let's make some booyaka noise for the whole, who's laughing at me, Chuck? Let's make some noise for all of the hidden science performers, speakers, lecturers, and I understand I missed the spoken word, and it was awesome. I can't believe it. So please, if you're happy to be alive, make some noise, black people. Rastafari. All right, we're gonna have a great time. Now listen up, man. We've got a lot to do in a short space of time to do it in. So brothers and sisters, my name is Andrew Mohammed. They call me the investigator of Guam Papa G and all of that. And the Queen is Lady Adele, also known as Lady Ma'at, and she's been going on before me. So brothers and sisters, please give some black love to Lady Adele, Sister Ma'at.
Good afternoon, family. How are we? Yeah, it seems like it's been a brilliant afternoon, and I hope that we will continue that through to the end of the day. So when I was thinking about black love, I thought this time round what I would really focus on is the black love of self. So I've titled this one here, Love You, Love Your Life. So I want to start off, oops, where's the clicking? It's not going. I did the other way. I always have a problem with technology. Oh, I did there now. Lovely. So, just going to show a few images of what we are told is the epitome of love. What actually makes and shows a true love story. Does anybody know which love story that one is? West Side Story. Maria and Jet. West Side Story is considered one of the greatest love stories. What about this one? Romeo and Juliet. That is said to be the love story of all time. What about this one? Pride and Prejudice. Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. Another classic love story. And this last one? Old people like me, we all know this one. Oliver and Jennifer's love story. Now, we've been brought up, and I was brought up, that this was the epitome of love. And he told me, and Brother Leo's already shared this with us, is that we as a black people didn't understand what love is, what love was, and it wasn't something we engaged in, because I never saw any epitome of love that looked like me. And I went away and I thought, well, what about this? Who are these? Our ancient Egyptians, our ancient Kemetans, they had love. And if you look at a lot of the hieroglyphics, and if you look at a lot of the images, they are always in embrace. Then I thought, well, what about this? One of our greatest films of love. Anybody remember this film? Yeah, Poetic Justice. And I thought, yeah, that's the kind of love affair I want when I grow up. What about this? Who are these? The Banks's family. Through humour and through teachings, they showed us that we can have good, strong black family relationships. And what about this? One of our greatest heroes who showed his black love to us as a community within America and globally. So I found out for myself that there are images and experiences of black love that were far superior to the ones that I was brought up with. But this is the most important love story, and this love story is who? It's the love story of ourselves. How many people wake up in the morning and do this to themselves? Oh, one at the back there, gets up in the morning and gives himself a big hug. No? You should have stopped with the yes. So what I thought I would do, I wanted to look at hunger, because I wanted to know, are we hungry enough to love ourselves? And I thought, let me look at this in relationship to what happens when our body gets hungry. Right, I struggle to pronounce this word, borborgimas. But when our body is hungry, you know, your stomach starts to rumble. That rumble is when this stomach contracts to draw out any food that's left in it to go into the intestines. And it's that contraction that rumbles. It's a signal that it is now time to eat. Everybody eating here? Everybody's full up at the moment? Anybody's stomach was rumbling before they ate? Yeah, one or two. As a food, as Leon was saying. So, if you think about our mental and spiritual hunger, there's always times, and we remember them, when ideas, dreams, plans, and visions come to our mind. We get hungry for something we want to do for ourselves or something we need to do. And we get that rumbling in our minds that tells us it's time to get up now. But if we decide not to fulfill that hunger, in our stomachs what happens? This hormone, ghrelin, is released. It's hormone, it tells us we're hungry, your stomach's rumbling, you need to do something about it now. But if we ignore that hunger, we ignore that hunger in our mind, what starts to happen? We start to find excuses. Not feeding our hunger when that hormone tells us it's eating time now. We find excuses. I'll eat later on. I'm too busy. How many people at work find it too busy even to eat? I'll eat later. Granny, you wait. It's the same as us giving excuses. You know what? I can't deal with my passion, my vision, and my dream now because I've got no money. That's an excuse. I've got no time. That's an excuse. I've got no qualifications. That's an excuse. So we find excuse not to feed the hunger. If we continue not feeding our hunger, ketosis steps in. And ketosis is a metabolic process where the body starts to break down fats to create the energy that it needs. And just as in our minds, if we don't feed that passion, that vision in our mind, if we don't do that, we then move from excuses into blaming. You know what? It's the children. I've got to look after the children. I've got no time. You know what? It's my friends. I'm too busy. I've got to be with my friends. You know what? I can't find time to do anything because my boss keeps me working all the time. And so what we do, we move from excuses to blaming other people and other things around us. And if we decide still not to feed ourselves at this point, then we get cognitive impairment. We can't make decisions straight. We get the mood swings. How many people have been so hungry, you just get angry, you can't even think? Hungry. It's hungry that we get. And that cognitive impairment is like a self-deception. We say to ourselves, you know what? It's impossible, or maybe it is possible. I tried today, no, I tried tomorrow. And we cannot make a decision to act on that very vision, that very plan, that very dream that we have. So that cognitive impairment gets in the way. If we continue not to feed our hunger, then the body starts to cannibalize itself. It starts to eat away at the muscles. It's trying to find any energy that it can. And if we don't feed our mental and spiritual plans and dreams and hopes, we turn into fight and flight. And we start eating away our self-confidence. We start eating away our values. We start eating away and guilt starts to take over. So we know that if we continue to be hungry, we're letting ourselves down. And if we continue not to eat, then our body's immune system begins to fail. And what happens at that point is that disease, bacteria, viruses, they take control. And it's the same with our mind. If we don't go after our dreams and our plans and our visions, other things take control. And you hear things like, well, black people don't do that. Actually, it's not your place to be doing that. And at the end, oh, don't worry, I've used your idea already. The control is taken out of us because we're not feeding that passion that we had within us that time back. And if we still don't feed ourselves, we get to organ failure. The heart starts to kick out, the kidneys start to fail, the liver starts to fail. And if we don't feed our spiritual and mental hunger, we end up with no love of self. And we start saying things like, I should have, I would have, and I could have. But by that time, we're only in a state of if only, and our dreams and our hopes and our plans, and they've just gone out the window. That form of self-destruction, by not feeding that dream that we have, Whatever we feed our hunger instead, that is what we become. So we have to be really careful of those hopes and those plans that we know are going to drive us forward. So I'm going to come back to hunger later on. I'm going to look at this. Oh, the value of hunger. Do you believe there's any value in being hungry? Yeah, it is good to be hungry. We live in a society that doesn't appreciate hunger. We either overfeed it or we underfeed it. But we need to have hunger within us. Hunger is a traffic light signal. It's time to eat. It's a traffic light signal in our mind that it's time to work on that plan that we have. Hunger is a signal that I need to eat now. And in our mind, it's a signal that we have to act at this time. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for everything to be in place. That hunger, start on it now. Our hunger, when we're hungry, we look for the best foods to eat. In our mental hunger, we're looking for the best plans. We're looking to read the materials that we need. We're looking to go out there and search, what is it I need to get my hunger fulfilled? When we are hungry, we also eat in the right proportions. Hunger tells us to eat in the right proportions. And for those of us, particularly women, it helps us keep our weight where we want it to be. But also in our mind, if we're feeding on in the right proportion those things that we need to drive us forward, we're going to get the success that we want. A hungry man is not a free man. So it is very important that we allow hunger to be a part of who and what we are. One, it's good for our health, and two, it's good for our mind. So I'm going to come back to hunger in a moment. I'm just going to share this with you. So here is a grand piano. And unbeknown to most of you here, and there are one or two from last week, I studied, I'm now qualified as a concert pianist. Wow. I must say, it's a skill I haven't used as I should have done. But training as a concert pianist, I had to practice 6 hours a day for 4 years. Now, I'm not going to say I did that well, but that was what it was. I needed to practice 6 hours a day for 4 years. And the end of that would be a demonstration of 1 hour concert performance. All of that for 1 hour performance. That's a lot of time, a lot of dedication. I used to get up 6 o'clock in the morning, clean my teeth, forget about the hair, leave the pajamas on, and I was in that cold practice room, practicing scales and all the other things. And some pieces could take up to 18 months to master. And not because I wasn't good at it, it's just to get those fine details. Now, I'm no different to Serena Williams, who practiced hours for years in order to hold that plate up at Wimbledon. And I'm no different to Chris Gardner, who from nothing made a way in his life for him and his child. There's a 10,000 hour rule. Anybody heard of the 10,000 hour rule? Yeah, the 10,000 hour rule. It's also called the magic number of mastery. And it is said that if you do something for 10,000 hours, you will become a master of that. Now, there's some arguments that say that theory is not necessarily true, but what we do know is that practice makes perfect, practice makes permanent. So this magic number of mastery, this 10,000 hour rule, is very important for us to develop and grow a skill or a talent that we want. Now, I'm an educationist. Any other educationist in the room? Anybody going back to school on Monday morning? Wow, yeah, that went quick, didn't it? Right. So, as an educationist, I do a lot of interviews for posts within the school. And I know, because I've done it myself, that anybody coming for a job at a senior level, they want to be ready for that interview. Whether they want the job or not, they're going to get ready for it. And so what do? We go and find everything about the school on the website. Everything about the head teacher on the website. Everything about that academy chain on the website. We then spend hours going through the Ofsted report. Is it good? Why isn't it good? What suggestions can I make to improve that school? I then spend more time reading the policies and procedures. All because I want that job. So I dedicate dedicate a lot of time, and we dedicate a lot of time preparing for our jobs. How many of you now, before you go to the doctor, research on the internet so you can tell the doctor what is wrong with you? Yeah, we find time to do these things. But do we take the same amount of time and energy to love ourselves? Do we take the same amount of time and energy to love our partners, our lovers, our children? Do we take the same amount of time and energy to find out about our history and our culture? Do we take enough time out to come to events and support events like this where we get fed the information and the knowledge and the wisdom that we need? Excellence of self is about striving for what is just out of reach and not quite making it. It's having that hunger there. Because to be the best of ourselves, we need to be in a state of hunger that we can never fully satisfy. So are we hungry enough to take the time? Now, I used to talk in schools when I was young, saying, yeah, I've got to make the time to do this and make the time to do that. And somebody said to me, Adele, there's 24 hours in the day. How are you going to make 25 hours in the day? You are not God. All you can do is take the time from somewhere else in order to achieve what it is you need to achieve. We need to nurture our hunger, not our habits. When we get that sense of hunger, we need to understand it. Understand our own personal hunger for our body and for our mind, and then nurture it and not our habits. We need to be worried if we're not feeling hungry, because if I'm not feeling hungry, I'm feeding somebody else's hunger. And I know that for a lot of our young people, they're feeding somebody else's hunger. The designer label, the mobile phone, whatever it is, if we're not worried about our own hunger, we've got to be careful because we're feeding somebody else's hunger. We need to love ourselves more than we fear the problem or situation that we are in. Because whatever our mind focuses on, if we focus on love, then love becomes the attraction around us. If we focus ourselves on the fear, then fear is what comes around us. Because the mind, the subconscious, can't make the distinction. So we've got to be thinking, what is it? Is it the love or the fear that I'm after? So I was thinking about some food for love, because what is the relationship between this hunger and my 6 hours of practice for 4 years? It's whether or not we have the hunger to practice, to prepare, to plan for our visions and our future. And these are 4 of the foods of love. There's many others out there, but these were my 4. Knowing ourselves, having courage, understanding the need for urgency, and very importantly, our health. These 4 foods of love is what will make us back into the beings that we were back in the original, at the start of time. So, man, know thyself. So, in education, we write these things on pupils called trigger sheets. Anybody in here know what I mean by a trigger sheet? Trigger sheets. So, what they are is on pupils, we write about their strengths and weaknesses. What are the things that excite them? What are the things that are going to turn them and get them to flip the table or become violent or aggressive? Because I work with very troubled and traumatized young people. And we write this about the student so that anybody who reads it will know, you know what? If this happens or that happens, this is how this child's going to behave. And it's not about just the big strengths and the big weaknesses, it's about the little things. You know what, if it rains today, Johnny is going to not have a good day at all. If somebody else is eating biscuits and Sally can't eat the biscuits, so-and-so is going to have a very bad day today. It's knowing those very, very, very small things. And we need to know these small things about ourselves. Now, one of my teachers last week, he did a piece of work on the Johari window. Anybody heard of the Johari window? And one of the quadrants of the Johari window is all about you knowing the things about yourself that other people see in you that you didn't know was there. And I never even thought about that. I thought I know everything about me. I know myself. But there are things that I say and do that other people see in me that I can't see. So knowledge of self is quite an important thing. And when we're looking at the knowledge of ourselves, being mediocre will become part of our consciousness and our personality. And if that happens, it will damage us. So if we are to know ourselves, we have to be able to stand up to that negative internal voice in our head that tells us, I can't do it. I am too afraid. We need to be able to stand up to ourselves. We often talk about standing up to other people, standing up to the boss, standing up to those friends that are negative. But how about standing up to the voices and to the attitudes we have with ourselves? It's about honouring those commitments. How many people have made a promise to themselves and they just let themselves down? And how do we respond to that? I tell you, if one of my friends made a promise to me and let me down, I'm having a go at them. But if I make a promise to myself and let myself down, I just let it go by the by and start again tomorrow. So, which is no good. So knowing myself, it is having the honour. It's also about making or preparing for opportunities that are not there. Too often the opportunity comes and we're not ready. But if we're preparing for an opportunity before it's even there, we're ready to go straight away. And it's also about holding on to those dreams, those passions and those plans. And not waking up one day and finding that you've left the dream way behind. So that's all about knowing ourselves. Now the next food of love is, and that way we will then connect with our original purpose, with who we really are. So the next food of love is courage. Without courage, we will lose our nerve, and others will convince us that what we are doing has no value, and then we will give up on our dreams. Now, I'm from the older generation. How many of us, when we were at school and we were told, no, you can't be a doctor or a lawyer, you need to be a secretary. Yeah, you can work in some place in the office, but could never have the big jobs. So, if we don't have courage to stand up to that, we will be told who and what we can do. So, when we think about it, we need to step into our fears and transcend them. Feel the fear and do it anyway. We need to manage our failures and rise above them. Failure is good. We're taught today that failure is not a good thing. We're not allowed to feel upset about anything at all. But failure is important because it teaches us very many lessons. Courage is all about ignoring the critics that of ourselves. We are the hardest critics on ourselves and give up easily. So we've got to ignore that voice within us. And then we have to dare. We have to dare to be creative. We have to dare to be ourselves. So we have to be very daring and courageous to do that. And we need to double our efforts because the human spirit is weak. Double the efforts. When we least want to do it, that's when we have to do it more. And when we have that courage, we will be fearless. What do we know about fearless people? They're left alone. Nobody troubles the fearless person. We're all too afraid of the fearless person. But the fearless person has their life in their hand. They're running things. They're in control. So we need to be fearless. And once we are fearless, we can then grow into our purpose. Because we're all here for a purpose. The third food of love is urgency. Urgency. Without a sense of urgency and passion, desire loses its value. Tomorrow, who wakes up and said, tomorrow will do? I didn't do it today, tomorrow will do. Whose to-do list? We always write these to-do lists, and all the bits we don't like we put onto tomorrow. The strange thing about tomorrow, it never ever comes. So, we have to have this sense of urgency. Life is short. Think about those disputes that you have with other people and with your family. When you really look at it, was it worth it? Were they really that important in the bigger scheme of things? But too often we get caught up in these little issues that really are not big at all. We need to have passion for what we do, because passion drives urgency. It keeps us going. It keeps the pace up. We need to... Oh, I thought there was something else we need to do. We obviously do. But we need to live our life as if it's the last day. And what I mean about it, I don't want us to be thinking like tomorrow we may die. Because I know if I knew I'm dying tomorrow, I'm just staying in my bed and not doing anything. But I know, if I was sent, somebody here, I don't know if anybody here will do this, but if somebody sends me to Jamaica for 3 days and say, you've got 3 days in Jamaica, it's the only time you will ever go to Jamaica. I tell you what, I'm up at the crack of dawn, John's River, Montego Bay, the Blue Mountain, because I love the coffee up there. I'm doing everything because I may never get the chance to do that again. And it's with that passion and urgency that we need to live our lives, because we would live life so differently if we were not sure about tomorrow. When we think of urgency, then we will pursue our purpose. We will go after it. And my last food of love is health. Now, health is quite an interesting one, because we live in a society where health issues are growing all the time. We're always worried now. Brexit told us that we might not even get medication. That may not be such a bad thing. It all begins with you. If you do not care for yourself, you will not be strong enough to take care of anything in life. So we have a lot of conditions that if you go back and look at your grandparents and your great-grandparents, they never had these problems. Obesity, high blood pressure, what are some of the diabetes? These things weren't there, but they're here now. So there are many conditions because of the lifestyle we're living. And then on top of that, we then go to get medication from the doctor. So we do all these bad things, we eat all wrong, because we know there's somebody out there who's going to make it all right. But are we aware that the medication that we take is not designed with us in mind? Medication is designed for the majority, and we are the minority. Now, what experiments do they do, or which animals do they use for experimentations of medication?
White mice.
White mice. Albino mice and rats. Because they're the nearest to the genetic formation. I don't need to know the science, so I want to be very careful, because Leon told us about everything being simple, being able to explain yourself. But I think to myself, wow, these white albino mice is what's been experimented on to provide medication for you and I who have melanin, which the mice and the rats don't have. So we've got to be careful of the medication. They're not designed for the body makeup that we have. So we shouldn't be running all the time. That's why I'm not too worried about Brexit and the medicines coming in or not. Nutrition. I don't know if anybody saw the video that was being circulated around the circuit about the nutrition in our food, or lack of it. Even the organic food. And I pride myself on buying organic food. I buy organic lemons, the skin is so thick that nothing could get through it anyway, but I'm buying the organic lemon. The nutritional value in there is down to 40%. I am so sad about this. So nutrition, so on top of all the other junk that I eat, which has no nutrition, the best I can do is 40 or 50%. And then we have our lifestyle, the lifestyle that we lead. How many people get enough sleep? Wow. How many people drink enough water? I'm not even talking about the structured water, but just any kind of water. We are lifestyle. How many people do an exercise? Wow. Okay. I feel embarrassed now. But the lifestyle that we lead is not helping us. And we have to start getting some of these things right. We need to nourish our purpose. And if we have these 4 foods of love, and we give them to ourselves, we are becoming the best of ourselves. We're becoming and taking ourselves back to our original state. So I know Leon asked this question. Put your hand up, please, if you love yourself. Okay, we're going to do the love yourself test now. I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up to answer these questions. But we need to fall in such love with ourselves every day. You know that lover that you have, you fall in love with them, not every day, every minute. Yeah? So here's some questions. Do you feel the same pain when you let yourself down as when the person you love lets you down? No, I don't. I let myself down. I don't worry about it. Tomorrow will always do, even though it never comes. Okay, this question. Do you give yourself the same treatment that you give someone you love? Massage, candlelit dinner, hot baths with candles. Yeah. Do you do it for yourself like you do it for your lover? Okay. Oh, there's some lucky men and women out there today. Next question. Do you have with yourself the same late night conversations focused on how special and valued you are? Do you remember teenagers do it particularly, and you lovers do it? You're on the phone all night Yeah? Having a conversation, how special you are, how lovely you are, making that person feel good. You don't even worry about trying to sell yourself. You're trying to sell that person to themselves. Do we have them same kind of conversations with ourselves? No, I said, Adele, I'm going to sleep now. Good night, I'll see you in the morning. That's all I say to myself. Do you go out of your way to find solutions to your problems as you do for the person you love? You know, the person you love, you're trying to help them. Don't worry about it, I'll help you here. If we go over there, we can do this. We can get some of that over there. Do we do that for our own problems? Do we help ourselves to that same degree? We try? Okay, some discussion going on there. That's good. And the last question, I think this is the last one. Do you show and give the best of yourself as you do for someone you love? Yeah? Now, when I was going to go to that piano room at 6 o'clock in the morning, I didn't really care. I'm going there with the pyjamas and the hair was all over the place. I weren't trying to impress nobody at 6 o'clock in the morning. But I tell you now, if I'm going to go out with somebody, I'll say no more. I'm trying to look good. Yeah? Make sure the hair is right, the perfume is good. I'm looking at the dress. Do they like that colour? You know, all of that goes on. But do I do that for myself? We've got a few people who really love themselves and how they look. That's good. And he said one more. Do we pray for ourselves daily as we do for that person we love? I hope they have a really good day. God, please be with them. Let nothing happen. Do we do the same for ourselves as we leave the house every day? Because I'm saying that the love we give out to that new lover or to a brand new child, we need to be giving to ourselves each and every day. And this is the way to do it, the affirmation. Affirmations keep us hungry. Affirmation is the plate on which all those 4 foods of love sit. And affirmations are good because we are sending out appreciation for life, appreciation for ourselves, appreciation for our family, our friends, and our community. Affirmations draw the law of attraction. What we give out through our affirmation daily is what we're drawing back to ourselves. Affirmation is a call to our ancestors to be with us, to guide us, the strength of them that is within us, to continue with us throughout the day. Affirmations is something we need to vision. Now, lots of us say affirmations, but do we actually see the picture in our head? I remember when I was at school, I used to have to go to the Catholic church. I think it must have been a Catholic school when I was at primary school, and I'd sit there, and I grew up and went to church with my grandparents, but in the Catholic church, they used to read the prayers from a book. Now, when I went to church with my grandparents, the prayer went on for a very long time, and it was different every time. So you could see the prayers and the wishes of the people. And I used to think, people who sit in this church here, do they actually know what they're saying anymore? Or is it just learnt by rote? So we need to vision the affirmations that we have. And affirmations send out vibrations. And we've learned a lot about vibrations today. Positivity of vibration rise up through our chakras, up through our heart that Leon was talking about, up into the spiritual level of our mind. The more we say affirmations, that level of positivity is taking us up into our enlightened state. It awakens intuition and activates the pineal gland, the third eye of consciousness, the genius that is within us. So, the hidden science of black love, I would have to argue and say black love is not hidden. It is there within us and outside of us. What we need to do is to open our eyes, our third eye of consciousness, the genius within us. We need to inhale that black love and then send it back out to those around us, our community, our family and friends. And I'm hoping, Brother Andrew, that you'll share with us how we can continue to do that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.